Barron Trump has finally spoken up, and what he's revealed about Usha Vance, the second lady of the United States, is nothing short of jaw-dropping. Usha, a brilliant lawyer and daughter of Indian immigrants, is set to make history as the first Indian-origin second lady. She's always preferred to stay out of the spotlight, but Barron's surprising take on her struggles, influence, and journey in politics has left everyone stunned. From standing firmly beside JD Vance to handling controversies with grace, his words paint a picture of Usha that no one saw coming. Usha Vance has faced more than her fair share of racist attacks, yet she never lets them break her spirit. As the second lady of the United States, she's had to deal with people who see her background as a weakness instead of an asset. But instead of letting stereotypes define her, Usha stands tall, showing resilience and dignity at every turn. Even Barron, who rarely speaks publicly, couldn't help but admire her quiet strength. He pointed out how she doesn't let hatred drag her down, but instead channels it into something positive, using her experiences to help others going through similar struggles. She believes in learning before judging and encourages people to ask questions about different cultures rather than making assumptions. Her warmth and kindness have become a source of comfort in an increasingly divided world. Barron also highlighted how Usha's impressive academic background has shaped the way she handles criticism. Rather than lashing out, she responds with knowledge and awareness, a rare quality in politics that he finds deeply inspiring. Her own experiences with discrimination have only made her more empathetic, pushing her to focus on education and social reform. With a bachelor's degree from Yale and a prestigious Gates scholarship at Cambridge, she later returned to Yale to study law. Through it all, she leans on her family for strength, refusing to let negativity define her. Each time she's tested, she comes back stronger, proving that grace and dignity can overcome even the harshest hate. Usha Vance's intelligence and leadership make her stand out in today's political world. Those who know her describe her as thoughtful, sharp, and full of fresh ideas. Her legal expertise has played a key role in shaping her husband's political career, but she's far from being just a supporting figure. When tough situations arise, Usha steps in with well-researched insights and practical solutions. People admire her ability to stay composed under pressure, never letting stress cloud her judgment. She listens carefully, values different perspectives, and has become a trusted voice in Washington. Even though she prefers working on policy rather than seeking the spotlight, her influence is undeniable, making her one of the most respected figures in modern politics. Usha's leadership style is all about community and fairness. She truly believes that every voice matters and makes it a priority to include diverse perspectives in major decisions. This approach has made her a powerful force in pushing the administration to tackle issues that might otherwise be overlooked. Those who work with her often mention how she stands her ground with confidence while remaining respectful, earning admiration across the political spectrum. Usha has played a key role in shaping JD Vance's political career, guiding him from his modest beginnings to the vice presidency. Having grown up with limited resources, she developed a strong work ethic and sharp instincts, qualities that later became invaluable in supporting JD's journey in politics. Her legal and public service background provided her with the expertise to advise him on crucial decisions. As the wife of the 39-year-old Vice President, Usha has been embraced by Republicans as a symbol of generational change. She helped him craft his message about uplifting struggling communities, ensuring he remained true to his roots. Behind the scenes, Usha has been a quiet but powerful force, offering well-thought-out insights on everything from campaign strategies to policy choices. She believed that sincerity and respect for everyday struggles would resonate with voters. Her unwavering support kept JD focused even when critics doubted his experience. Usha also emphasized the importance of balancing politics with family life, encouraging JD to prioritize their children despite his demanding schedule. As JD's career gained momentum, she remained a constant source of wisdom, pushing him to bridge social divides and bring hope to neglected regions. She often reminded him of their own family's history, ensuring he never lost sight of what truly mattered. That personal touch helped JD stand out from traditional politicians and build a deep connection with voters. Now, as the second lady, Usha is far more than just a political spouse. She is JD's true partner, shaping his leadership with her quiet strength and strong convictions. Her influence keeps him grounded and committed to serving the American people. Their bond stands as a testament to the power of mutual respect and shared purpose. Balancing a demanding political career with family life is no easy feat, but Usha has managed to do just that. As the second lady, she constantly juggles her official responsibilities while staying at the heart of her family. She takes pride in supporting JD while also being a warm and present mother to their children. Even with a packed schedule of meetings, speeches, and nationwide trips, she never lets family time slip through the cracks. Dinner at home remains a priority, no matter how busy things get. To maintain that balance, Usha has put firm routines in place, ensuring work commitments don't overshadow family life. She even resigned from her law firm to dedicate more time to her family, a decision her staff respects and admires. By handling school events, major policy discussions, and official receptions with careful planning, she proves that priorities can be managed with thoughtfulness and care. Whether she's rushing from a televised interview to make it to a parent-teacher conference or cheering at a soccer game, she makes sure her children always come first. Her ability to stay composed under pressure has also inspired those around her. She encourages her staff to value their own families, fostering a healthier work environment. Friends say she keeps open communication with JD, sharing weekly updates to stay in sync. By embracing both the little joys of daily life and the weight of national responsibilities, Usha proves that with heart, dedication, and careful balance, anything is possible. Her approach is seen as a guiding example for future political spouses, showing that the role goes far beyond standing beside a leader. It's about making a real impact. Barron Trump, who rarely speaks publicly, has shared surprising thoughts on Usha Vance, the second lady of the United States. He sees her as a steady and composed figure who has helped Vice President JD Vance navigate the pressures of political life under President Trump. What impresses him most is how she balances her responsibilities as a mother while managing her own ambitious projects. He believes she is far more than just a political spouse, praising her resilience in the face of hurtful comments about her Indian heritage. Barron is convinced that Usha has the potential to step into an even bigger leadership role in the future. He points to her impressive education and experience in legal and public service, which have made her a key advisor in national matters. What surprises him most is how effortlessly she transitions from caring for her children to discussing complex policy decisions. He also notes her kindness, something he has witnessed firsthand during family gatherings, though he feels many people don't realize how thoughtful she truly is behind closed doors. Barron warns that underestimating her would be a mistake. She is full of ideas and has the determination to see them through. In his view, the American public still has a lot to learn about her, and he is certain she will continue to surprise everyone. He believes her voice will soon become essential in national discussions, particularly when it comes to family policies, women's advocacy, and supporting underserved communities. Usha has long been dedicated to uplifting women and marginalized groups. While her role as second lady puts her in the public eye, her most meaningful work happens behind the scenes. She organizes community outreach programs, meets with grassroots leaders, and builds strong support networks for those in need. She firmly believes that real change begins at the local level, focusing on practical needs like childcare, education, and career development. By working alongside passionate volunteers and nonprofit organizations, she directs resources to communities often left out of political conversations. Her commitment goes beyond raising awareness. She is determined to create real, lasting solutions. Usha is known for her humble approach, preferring to listen rather than take the spotlight. She spends time with single mothers, struggling students, and workers facing unfair conditions, then connects them with policymakers and businesses that can make a difference. This passion likely stems from her own life experiences, which have taught her the value of resilience and equal opportunity. Her focus on women's rights includes ensuring that those who face discrimination or lack access to essential services like childcare and healthcare have the resources they need. She actively pushes for funding to improve local clinics, childcare centers, and job training programs, believing these steps are critical to breaking cycles of poverty. Her efforts have earned her deep respect from both local community leaders and national figures who see her as a compassionate yet highly effective force for good. For Usha, her background has always been a source of strength. She has seen firsthand how even small actions can lead to significant changes, especially for those who often feel forgotten. When traveling with Vice President JD Vance, she makes it a priority to visit shelters and community centers, listening to people's personal stories and working to bring direct support where it is needed most. Her goal is simple: to provide hope and the tools for a better future. Her passion for women's empowerment comes from her own journey, and she is eager to share that drive with others. She strongly believes in mentoring young women, offering them the guidance they need to open doors in education and business. Through small group discussions and personal mentorship, she is helping shape the next generation of leaders, proving that with the right support anyone can achieve great things. Usha helps connect people to scholarship opportunities and job leads, proving that real change comes from practical steps. Her work extends to underserved communities where she champions programs focused on healthcare, childcare, and career training. She understands that sometimes families just need a small push to break free from poverty's grip, so she partners with donors and local leaders to ensure resources go exactly where they're needed. While some may see her simply as the second lady, Usha uses her platform to build meaningful connections. She remains humble but determined, never losing sight of the mothers and children who depend on her. More than anything, she believes that by standing with women and supporting communities that have been ignored for too long, the entire nation benefits and moves forward together. Usha Vance has already become a notable presence in Washington, but many believe she's only just getting started. Her strong legal background proves she's capable of much more than just accompanying her husband to events. Her composed nature and thoughtful approach have already allowed her to make an impact behind the scenes, whether at charity events or in key policy discussions. She seems prepared to take on even bigger responsibilities when the time is right. Supporters admire her ability to balance family life with public duties, noting that she stays calm even in high-pressure situations. Her quiet leadership style is particularly effective in the often chaotic world of politics. By blending fairness with skilled communication, Usha has set herself apart from the usual political spouses. Even public figures like May Musk have spoken highly of her ability to engage with important issues in a meaningful way. Her background and personal experiences give her a unique perspective that America may need now more than ever. The country often looks for fresh voices who can represent a broader range of people, and with her dedication to uplifting struggling communities, she seems well-positioned to take on that role. As more citizens learn about her work, excitement grows over what she might do next. If she ever chooses to take on a larger leadership position, she could become a defining figure in shaping the country's future. Usha Vance stands out among other political spouses because of her composed demeanor and legal expertise. While many in her position remain largely symbolic figures, she plays a crucial behind-the-scenes role in her husband JD Vance's success. She has also faced unique challenges, including racist attacks, yet she remains unfazed. Comparing her to other well-known political spouses, Michelle Obama and Dr. Jill Biden each had their own missions, but also dealt with intense public scrutiny. Usha's journey, however, combines personal resilience with a quieter but deeply influential presence, appealing to those who value modest yet effective leadership. Her approach is often compared to that of Laura Bush, known for her gentle style and focus on education, though Usha's background gives her a different perspective. At the same time, she shares some similarities with Melania Trump in terms of privacy, though Usha appears more actively engaged in policy discussions. Unlike many political spouses who primarily take on ceremonial roles, Usha uses her intelligence to shape conversations, particularly around women's rights and support for underserved communities. Figures like Hillary Clinton and Eleanor Roosevelt became well known for their outspoken activism. But Usha's approach is different, less about the spotlight and more about steady, thoughtful action. Usha balances humility with a strong commitment to causes that directly impact everyday people. She takes a hands-on approach, ensuring families receive early education support and access to proper health care. In this way, she sets a modern example of a political spouse, someone who doesn't just stand beside her husband but actively contributes to his platform while forging her own meaningful path. Her dedication makes her a remarkable figure in Washington. Barron Trump has always been private, rarely stepping into the political limelight, especially on sensitive issues. However, when he saw the racist attacks directed at Usha Vance, the Second Lady of the United States, he felt compelled to speak out. For Barron, this wasn't about seeking attention. It was about standing up for someone he considers family. Usha has long been a steadying presence in the often chaotic world of politics, and Barron respects the way she balances her legal expertise, public responsibilities, and her role as a mother. He was particularly troubled by how deeply hurtful the attacks became, especially those targeting her Indian heritage. Watching Usha handle these moments with grace and composure stirred feelings of both admiration and concern in Barron. Growing up in the public eye himself, he understood how draining cruel remarks could be. His decision to speak out was also influenced by figures like Mae Musk, who had already voiced support for Usha. He hoped that by adding his voice, he could encourage more people to reject intolerance. Unlike his father, Donald Trump, who often responds to criticism with bold counterattacks, Barron chose a quieter and more personal approach. His goal wasn't to fight, but to show solidarity and respect. He has seen firsthand how tirelessly Usha works to improve the lives of everyday families, and by breaking his usual silence, he hoped to remind people that even in the harsh world of politics, compassion should never be forgotten. Now, shifting gears to some of history's biggest mysteries, some rare photographs have left even the sharpest minds puzzled. These images capture moments so bizarre that they belong in history books. From odd inventions to eerie events frozen in time, they challenge what we think we know about the past. If you love a good mystery, get ready to dive into 20 rare historical photos that scientists still struggle to explain. First up, let's talk about the morning after Sweden switched its driving lanes. On September 3, 1967, the country made a dramatic change by moving from left-side driving to the right. Sweden was the last country in continental Europe to make the switch, and the event known as Dagen H, or H-Day, threw the nation into temporary chaos. Imagine waking up and realizing that the lane you drove in yesterday is now completely off-limits. Leading up to the transition, the government launched massive awareness campaigns, including practice days and non-stop advertisements. However, despite all the preparation, when the big day arrived, confusion took over. The roads were packed with hesitant drivers trying to figure out the new system, and minor accidents were everywhere. Pedestrians weren't spared from the chaos either, struggling to navigate crosswalks that suddenly felt unfamiliar. Despite the initial mess, the change was ultimately worth it. Road safety improved, and travel to neighboring countries, most of which already drove on the right, became far more convenient. It may have been one of the most disorienting mornings in Swedish history, but in the end, it led to safer and more organized roads. Now, if you think that's wild, wait until you hear about Blanche Monnier, a woman whose disappearance turned into one of France's most disturbing cases. Born in 1849, Blanche was a beautiful young woman from a wealthy family in Poitiers, France. By all accounts, she was destined for a comfortable and privileged life. However, in 1875, she suddenly vanished without a trace. For 25 years, no one knew what had happened to her. That is, until authorities uncovered the horrifying truth. Blanche had been locked away in a small, dark room inside her own family home. The person responsible? Her own mother. Rumor has it that Blanche's mother disapproved of her relationship with a man who wasn't wealthy enough to meet the family's standards. Instead of allowing her daughter to make her own choices, she cruelly imprisoned her. When police finally found Blanche, she was malnourished and barely clinging to life, having spent over 2 decades in complete isolation. The discovery shocked the nation and became one of the most chilling cases of cruelty ever recorded. Blanche Monnier endured years of neglect and unimaginable suffering, locked away while the world outside carried on without her. For 25 years, she remained hidden, a prisoner in her own home, until an anonymous tip in 1901 led police to rescue her. The case shocked the nation, exposing one of the most horrifying instances of family cruelty in history. Now, moving on to another astonishing case, the two-headed boy of Bengal. Lalu was born in 1867 in a small village near Kolkata, India, with an extremely rare condition caused by conjoined twins who never fully separated. His body had one set of arms and legs, but he possessed 2 heads, each capable of independent expressions. Both heads could blink, smile, and react separately. making his case a medical marvel. Despite his unusual appearance, Laloux's family protected him from exploitation, raising him with care and dignity. Though he lived only 23 years, his story remains a fascinating part of medical history, challenging what we know about human development. Now let's talk about the very first selfie ever taken. Today, selfies are everywhere, but the first known photographic self-portrait dates back to 1839, thanks to Robert Cornelius, an American chemist and photography enthusiast. At a time when photography was still a novelty, Cornelius decided to test the daguerreotype process in his family's yard in Philadelphia. He set up his camera, removed the lens cap, sprinted into the frame, posed, and then quickly covered the lens again. The result? The world's first recorded selfie, proving that the love for self-portraits isn't just a modern obsession, but a tradition dating back over 180 years. Next up is a haunting image that captures the true cost of war, not just on the battlefield, but on the faces of those who survive it. War doesn't only leave physical wounds, it scars the soul. Soldiers returning from the world wars were often unrecognizable, not just due to injuries, but from the sheer toll of trauma and stress. Many suffered from PTSD, a condition that ravaged both their minds and bodies. In one powerful Soviet photograph, a soldier's face tells a tragic story. His eyes, hollow and filled with exhaustion, serve as a reminder of the silent suffering that war leaves behind, long after the battles have ended. Photographs also reveal the grim realities of life underground, like this chilling image of Belgian coal miners from the 1920s. It captures a group of men crammed into an outdated mine elevator, their faces blackened with soot, their expressions hardened by daily peril. These miners faced constant danger, working in conditions that would be unthinkable today. Another historical photograph shows a woman dressed in Native American clothing, but not all images tell the full truth. Many were staged, edited, or even manipulated to push certain narratives. These old photographs remind us to always question history and to recognize the real struggles behind the images we see. Up next is a piece of wartime innovation, the Morrison Shelter. Designed in 1941, this seemingly ordinary metal dining table doubled as a life-saving air raid shelter during World War II. Named after British Home Secretary Herbert Morrison, it transformed into a sturdy, cage-like structure with fold-down sides, offering families protection from falling debris during bombings. Its wire mesh top was strong enough to withstand collapsing ceilings, making it a household necessity during the Blitz. Imagine having dinner at your table one moment and diving underneath it for survival the next. These photos serve as stark reminders of how much simpler and safer life is today compared to the wartime struggles of the past. And now, for a moment in history that marked the fall of an era, McDonald's opening in Moscow. On January 31, 1990, McDonald's opened its doors in Moscow, and the reaction was nothing short of historic. A staggering 38,000 people lined up for hours just to get a taste of the famous American fast food. Inside, the staff worked at lightning speed to serve the enormous crowd. Imagine standing in line for hours just for a burger and fries. Would you have waited? For many Russians, this wasn't just about food. It was about experiencing something new and symbolic of a changing era. The photograph capturing that moment speaks volumes about the curiosity and excitement surrounding this cultural shift. Now, let's step back in time to World War II and a truly eerie sight: gas masks for babies. With the looming threat of chemical warfare, these peculiar contraptions were designed to shield infants from harmful gases. Made of rubber with a small plastic window, each mask completely encased the baby's head, while a tiny air pump filtered the air inside. Though they were created for protection, they looked more like suffocating cages than life-saving devices. Strapped into these confining masks, babies must have felt scared, unable to move or express discomfort. The sight of these tiny faces hidden behind rubber shields serves as a haunting reminder of the constant fear that gripped the world during wartime. The Great Depression, which stretched from 1929 into the late 1930s, left millions of Americans in despair after the stock market crash. Jobs vanished, savings disappeared, and homes were lost overnight. Unlike today, unemployment insurance didn't exist, so when people lost work, they had nowhere to turn. While the wealthy managed to buy up cheap stocks and real estate, the working class was left struggling for survival. One powerful photograph captures the desperation of the time. A man walks the streets holding a sign that reads, "I know 3 trades, speak 3 languages, have 3 children, and no work for 3 months." His words reflect the crushing reality of those years when skill and determination weren't enough to put food on the table. Preserving Native American music might not seem like a daring adventure, but in the early 20th century, Frances Densmore dedicated her life to doing just that. Born in 1867 in Minnesota, she had an early fascination with music and cultural traditions. Armed with rudimentary recording equipment, she traveled across the U.S., capturing thousands of songs and rituals from Native American tribes, many of which had never been documented before. Her work was crucial in preserving a deep and rich part of Native American heritage that might have otherwise been lost to time. While her contributions remain lesser known, they played an essential role in keeping these traditions alive. Daredevil construction workers took bravery to a whole new level in the 1930s. During the construction of the Empire State Building, workers, nicknamed Skywalkers, balanced on steel beams hundreds of feet above the ground without harnesses, safety nets, or modern protective gear. One misstep could mean a fatal fall, yet they carried on, fearlessly assembling what would become one of the most iconic skyscrapers in history. The most famous photos show these men casually eating lunch while sitting on narrow beams, with nothing but open air beneath them. Today, it's hard to imagine anyone taking such risks, but these workers face danger daily just to make a living. Their courage helped shape the skyline of New York City, proving that some of the most daring jobs in history didn't involve war or adventure. They just involved getting to work. Now let's talk about one of the most bizarre photography trends of the 1800s. Spirit photography. William Mumler became famous for capturing eerie, ghostly figures in portraits, starting with a self-portrait where he claimed the spirit of his deceased cousin appeared beside him. As word spread, people flocked to him, hoping to see their lost loved ones in their photos. While many believed in the authenticity of these images, skeptics accused him of using double exposure to fake the spirits. In 1869, Mumler was taken to court for fraud, though he was eventually acquitted. Despite winning the trial, his career was ruined, and to this day the debate continues. Were his ghostly images real, or was he simply a master of photographic trickery? During World War II, the Allies pulled off one of the most creative military deceptions in history, using inflatable tanks, trucks, and artillery to trick the Nazis. These life-size decoys, made of canvas and rubber, looked real enough from a distance to fool enemy scouts. To make the illusion even more convincing, they blasted recordings of tank engines, marching soldiers, and moving vehicles in key locations. This ghost army played a vital role in the D-Day landings, helping to keep the Germans guessing about the Allies' true strategy. It's incredible to think that a bunch of fake tanks helped turn the tide of war. Now, shifting to one of history's darkest moments, on August 6, 1945, Hiroshima was struck by the first atomic bomb, Little Boy. The devastation was unimaginable, but some of the most haunting reminders of that day were the shadows left behind. One eerie imprint remains on the steps of a Hiroshima bank, a darkened outline where someone had been sitting just moments before the explosion. The intense heat of the blast burned everything around them, but their body shielded that small section of stone, leaving behind a ghostly silhouette. No one knows who they were, but their shadow tells a silent, tragic story of the innocent lives lost in an instant. The 1930s had its fair share of strange inventions, but few were as bizarre as the early hair treatment machines. These contraptions looked more like medieval torture devices than beauty tools, with wires, clamps, and towering metal arms hanging ominously over customers. Yet, women willingly sat under these monstrous machines, all in the name of fashion. These devices promised the latest and greatest hairstyles, but looking at them today, it's hard to believe anyone trusted them. Would you have been brave enough to endure one of these machines just for the perfect curls? That's some serious commitment to style. Few structures in history were as heartbreaking as the Berlin Wall. More than just a concrete barrier, it physically and emotionally tore families apart. Built by East Germany to stop its citizens from fleeing to the wealthier West, it divided parents from children, siblings from each other, and friends from their loved ones. Communication was cut off, leaving families trapped in uncertainty. Some risked their lives attempting daring escapes, while others endured decades of separation. When the wall finally fell in 1989, it marked not just a political victory, but a deeply personal reunion for thousands who had been torn apart for too long.